Grace and peace, one love to all. If you can hear me as you tune in, type a 7. We'll begin in about 1 minute. Bless up, give thanks, Sister Andrea. In grace and peace, one love. As we enter, we'll begin in about 20 seconds. Grace and peace. Shabbat. Shalom to all. Shabbat. Shalom. You know what, Brother Javid? It's really Shabbat. Shalom. It's, even though we say, people tend to say Shabbat, but I know that a lot of people have kind of gotten to that correction. It's actually Shabbat. But nonetheless, it's no big deal. But Shabbat. Shalom to all brothers and sisters tuning in today. Welcome, Brother Javid, once again.
Yes, Shabbat Shalom.
All right. Today's lesson is entitled True Summer Starts in May, the Scriptural Summer Season. Let us pray. And this is, again, an understanding of just true Scriptural Almanac, and we'll get to that. If you want to get yourself a PDF, free PDF, just email us at zainabjah.com, and I'll mention that later. But let us pray.
Let us pray. Our Father, which art in heaven, hallowed be your name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us for our trespasses, as we forgive those who trespass against us. And lead us out of temptations, and deliver and rescue us from all evil. For thine is the kingdom, and the power and all the glory forever. In the authority and love of your Son, Jehoshua, the Messiah, our Savior, we pray. So be it.
So be it. Praise Jah. Today's date is the second day of Judah, the 4th month for the year 6226 from origination, equivalent to May 9th, 2026. This is the beginning of true summer. This is the 13th Sabbath of the year, or day 91 as well. So we're in the second day of true scriptural summer. We're also on the 223rd 28-year cycle from creation, the 127th Jubilee cycle from creation as well. Here we are in calendar 10 within this 28-year cycle, and the Jubilee year was in 2024 or 6224. So we're in calendar 3 for this year's Jubilee cycle as well. A reminder that the scriptural year always begins on the first day of the week, always ends on the 7th day of the week. All the seasons are fixed. They stay there with the same amount of days, never changing. All the set feasts are also fixed. The festivals, Passover will always begin on the first day of the week, along with the other weekly festivals. They don't move away from their date or day of the week within their given month. And important to know is that the equinoxes and solstices are the middle of the true scriptural seasons. They're not the beginning, as this world tries to falsely teach you and promote. Here we are. Well, actually, we're here on the 2nd, but here's the beginning of summer. As we look at our monthly almanac, May 8th, yesterday was the beginning of scriptural summer. We're here on the Sabbath. There's 5 Sabbaths within this month. And it is the beginning of summer, solar summer at that as well. As always, all praise, glory, and honor to Jah, Yah, our Father, and His only begotten Son, Jehoshua the Messiah, the Nazarite, that died for our sins, also respectively known as Yehoshua, Yahusha, Yahweh Shai, Yahshua, Yeshua, Jesus, Joshua the Messiah, Hamashiach, the Christ. Praise to the Father and Son.
Praise Jah.
So, as I said before, this lesson is entitled True Summer, starts in May, the scriptural summer season. And, we do these lessons every once in a while. I guess we would say 4 times a year for sure, and sometimes 5 or 6, depending on if we want to focus on the fall starting of the seasons. But we have, of course, spring that began in February, summer that begins in May. August is the beginning of autumn, and November is the beginning of winter. And these are the true understanding of the seasons. And we're always hoping and encouraging others to seek these things out as well, because this is part of our salvation. You have a lot of false calendars out there. Actually, all of the calendars out there are false outside of Jah's true scriptural almanac. But we understand how it goes out here. So we just continually encourage people to search these things out and get a better understanding. One of the main issues here is that science doesn't override Jah's words. And a lot of people want to use kind of these equinoxes and solstices, in a scientific way to try to govern the seasons. But that's not so.
1 Timothy 6, verse 20. O Timothy, keep that which is committed to thy trust. Avoid profane and vain babblings and oppositions of science falsely so called, which some professing have erred concerning the faith.
Start this heater. Yep. So many people have, most of the world, they follow with the solar system idea, and of course, using astronomical observations with the lunar cycles and whatnot. But when you're talking about Jah's creation, there's a big battle out there in the world, and you may have heard of it, according to this universe that we live in. And it's not a sun-centered universe at all. It's an earth-centered creation. And that's very important for us to know. But before I go on further, again, I want to give a shout out to the Zion Assembly family. Always giving shouts out to Auntie Alma, Mama Greg, Sir G, Sister Andrea, the Monroe family, of course, Brother Johnny and family, Sky, Faya and Zariah, Sister Carice as well, and all others who will be tuning in. Bless up to you. One love. Stay strong and keep the faith.
Yeah, man. Shabbat shalom, brethren and sisters. And to you, Brother Sean, again.
Yes, I. So when we're looking at this, we do believe and understand this is how, the earth in a certain understanding is not perfect, but it's much more accurate than the whole idea of the sun-centered heliocentric model, which you see on your screen, basically the solar system. And that's where the sun is the center and everything revolves around the sun. It's called heliocentric. And Helios is the name for the sun, and Hallel is a name for the devil or Lucifer. So, you can put your brains together, put 2 and 2 together to see what's going on, what's real or not. And this is why, when it comes to Jah's almanac, the true scriptural calendar, why this matter here, these models matter. If you're dealing with Enoch and all of these other type of understandings, you're going to usually, and I know some people with the Enoch, Book of Enoch or the Enoch calendar, they do believe in an earth-centered understanding, but most of the other calendars are dealing with the solar system theory. And again, this is false.
Revelation 12, verse 9. And the great dragon was cast out, that old serpent called the devil and Satan, which deceiveth the whole world. He was cast out into the earth, and his angels were cast out with him.
So we see that these heathens have attempted to change times and seasons, and it's headed by the devil himself. Notice who's deceived? The whole world. So all of us have been deceived, right? We're all a part of this world, and some people still remain in the world, in that understanding, and so they remain under that deception. If you want to come out of the deception of the world, then of course you have to come to the Messiah and his Father, right? And then do this in sincerity, in truth, and in spirit. What is it? In spirit and what's the other one there? In spirit and truth, right? Spirit, yeah, spirit and truth, yes, and in sincerity. So, for many of us, we born into these false calendars. But I know as people start to search these things out as they get older, and the interest of true calendars or even calendars is becoming greater and greater, we can see where this understanding is going to be very valuable to those coming up now and also in the future. But it's all an attempt to hide just things.
Daniel 7, verse 25. And he shall speak great words against the Most High, and shall wear out the saints of the Most High, and think to change times and laws. And they shall be given into his hand until the time and times and the dividing of time.
So the main issue here, besides all of this many great things in this understanding here, is that he's thinking to change times and laws. And that's the devil, right? Working through mankind, thinking to change times. These times is Jah's almanac. And why would you want to change the true scriptural calendar? So that nobody can keep the festivals. And this is what it's all about: keeping the true festivals in their true order, within the true season. And this is what the devil has done. And you can see, for the most part, when people start talking about a scriptural calendar or a biblical calendar, they're always going to use the equinoxes and solstices as their main governor for the seasons. And that's where the great, great, great error is. And it's just too bad a lot of people cannot see that yet. And, there's a time for everything, I guess, with the Most High. But I do believe that people might be holding on to these things. And then as we come along here, I know there's others in the world that do recognize Jah's almanac. And I've even seen people attempt to even try to utilize it and, not even given under any credit. And I won't go into certain things, but I do know that there's Israelite groups out there that I've personally handed the almanac to in a certain form, and some have kind of like moved in a little bit of a way, and some haven't. And GOCC is one of them. Like, I know that they had Jah's almanac because I put it in their hands when they were on the road teaching with their main guy when he came from states and down. And I remember that, and I never really recognized it before, but I do see that GOCC is probably a few weeks closer to Jah's almanac. And I know the teachings that they go in, they really focus on the sevens, of which we do as well. And like I said, I won't lie, I gave the almanac, the 28-year cycle, put it in their hands on the road up at Jane and Finch. And I put it in a couple of other groups' hands, but they haven't, that was just something, again. And sometimes I feel bad for even doing it because, sometimes I felt like I was casting my pearls in the gold, to people who are finding these things unworthy. But nonetheless, hey, it is what it is. We still have to put forth that work. So we're here to put back these true times. Again, if you're dealing with, this thing with the Earth looking like a ball and utilizing the equator, these imaginary lines and the imaginary celestial sphere of which they try to chart the stars and all of that and the movement of the sun. This is all dealing with falsehood based upon this centricity. And as you can see, they're always putting north at the top, dealing with the North Pole supposedly at the top of this Earth. But that's all a part of a big, big, big falsehood and lie and deception of we're not going to get into a lot today. But as you can see it with your maps, north is always at the top. But this is not how things are. But nonetheless, we're not going to stay there. We're going to move on. You see, these astronomical seasons that we're speaking about that you use with the equinoxes and solstices are based on the position of the Earth in relation to the sun on the solar system model. And the Earth's imaginary trip around the sun from the basis for the astronomical calendar in which seasons are defined by 2 solstices and 2 equinoxes to try to give you these 4 seasons. So, this is where we're at. This is the world that you live in. And there's no kind of governing body that ever said this is the true beginning of seasons. And when you do a lot of history check, Brother Javed, tell you, a lot of people, believe it or not, it wasn't too long ago that people understood that the equinoxes and solstices were the middle, believe it or not. But of course, the devil forwarding things a lot. Even at one time, I heard that spring break was considered the middle of spring and not the beginning of spring when it was dealing with things in the United States when it came out. But again, that's another story. These are things that you're going to have to dig up in these little fossils. But all of this is false when you're dealing with the winter solstice begins the winter season, this vernal equinox begins spring, summer solstice begins summer. All of that is not true. So there's a great calendar deception with these equinoxes and solstices, and there's a great truth of the true scriptural almanac that we're forwarding, where the equinoxes and solstices are approximately the midpoints of the true scriptural seasons, and always have been and always will be.
Mm-hmm.
You're going to have to choose for yourself and do your own research. Scripture.
Ecclesiasticus 33, verse 7. Why does one day excel another, when as all the light of every day in the year is of the sun? By the knowledge of Jah they were distinguished, and he altered seasons and feasts. Some of them hath he made high days, and hallowed them, and some of them hath he made ordinary days.
So you see here when he's talking about in Ecclesiasticus, I think this is actually King Solomon speaking about, every day is dealing with the sun, right? The sun rises, sun sets. We got night and day. And what makes Jah want to distinguish certain days to make them holy, like the 7-day Sabbath? Well, it's by his decree, by his knowledge, right? He's distinguishing these special days. And this is when it comes down to the festivals. The festivals are not supposed to be kept on any lunar cycles at all, and that's a great deception. No festivals are tied to any lunar cycles or astronomical cycles. Just like the 7-day Sabbath in the beginning, from the beginning of time, the beginning of creation, it was a 7-day count from day one. So day 1 to day 7, that established the 7-day Sabbath. The sun, moon, and stars were made on the 4th day, put into operation on the 5th day, and there's nothing to deal with when it comes to months or seasons or holy days when it's coming to the sun, moon, and stars. They're not holy. They are good, very good, but it's Jah who declares things holy usually by his word. He'll say, this is the 7th day. He hallowed it. He rested. So it has nothing to do with the sun, moon, and stars. And this is why we want to have Jah's true almanac, because it's very important that we keep the proper high days and not try to hallow an ordinary day that Jah never, commanded.
That's right.
See, the Most High has his marks and signs of the truth, the true Messiah, true almanac, true seasons, and the devil has his marks and signs of the adversary, false calendars, false seasons, feasts, even feast ignorance, or not even keeping the Most High's laws. These are like things that you see in the world greatly. And I mean, I have a couple of videos, dealing with the mark of the beast, but I remember when I put the mark of the beast on one of them, it got taken down because I know it gets to be very, very powerful. You see, one of the things about the mark of the beast is that it's alive and well here today. It just hasn't been, remember, there's the mark, the name, and the number. You haven't seen a lot of the other action coming in, which is in the future with the beastly kingdom and all of that stuff with the anti-Messiah. But when we start to learn things that in the scriptures, we see that Jah's law, his Sabbath, his feasts are all signs and marks of the true God, the true El, and his true worship, how to honor him. And he states these things, whereas the marks and signs of the devil are lawlessness, false holy days, false feasts, paganism. And we see this very clearly in the world with Christmas. I see this very clearly with astronomical lunar cycle calendars. Anything, again, that deals with the equinox and tries to have a Passover from counting the moon, or not utilizing the true scriptural count, or utilizing the spring equinox again, as I repeat myself, is false. And it's a part of the mark of the devil. And the mark of the devil is great. You'd be surprised that this is a mark of the devil, this is a mark of the devil, this is a mark of the devil. And just things, when he's dealing with stars and certain symbols, we have 7, and that's what we deal with. And the rainbow belongs to the Father too, and they've even tried to take that. But nonetheless, if you start to look around, you can see the signs and the marks of Jah. You might not have known that Jah's law and his holy days are signs and markers, but he says this in Deuteronomy right here.
Deuteronomy 11, verse 18. Therefore shall ye lay up these my words in your heart and in your soul, and bind them for a sign upon your hand, that they may be as frontlets between your eyes.
Now, again, I've gone in many other lessons showing you how the Passover is a sign, the law is a sign. And, these are things I'm not going to be going over them again, because I really want to stick to this area here, because we've given so much teachings. I don't want to kind of fully be into a repeat mode. So it's, again, up to you to start to see and search out these things. These false calendars out here are marks and signs of the devil. And I'm not saying everybody who's in there are devil worshippers, because there's sincere, true believers who are trying to do these things. But as we navigate our way through this generation and through time, here we are. We got to put up a fight. We got to, hold the light up high. We got to expose and rebuke those false calendars, and we can, and we have, and we're calendar experts when it comes to this understanding. And it's not about pride and bragging and everything, because we don't know everything. But one thing we do is understand greatly, and that the gift that's been given to us is Jah's Almanac, coming through David Ray, who was the one who, the Father revealed the Almanac to in revelation, not in, voices and understanding, but in research, in wisdom and understanding. And here we are now. The Zion Assembly are the torchbearers of this truth. And as long as Jah gives us health, life, and strength, we're going to forward these things greatly and not hold back. I'm telling you the truth. If you're not keeping Jah's Almanac, those festivals that you're keeping out there in the name of the Most High is not being recognized by him in that holy way. He might just have mercy on you and just say, all right, I'm going to make it go on. But these festivals are designed to worship the devil and take away Jah's worship. So I really can't hold back on that. I got to let it be said, known and true. And for those individuals out there who know calendars and stuff like that, please come forward, bring it on, challenge us, look into these things, study, and even whatever you want to do, call it false and everything, but come forth, put out studies or whatever, because I study calendars, and I'm hopefully those people who are into calendars are going to study ours as well. And if you want to kind of just put it under the rug just because it's not based upon your astronomical, sun, moon, and stars worshiping things and being dismayed at the sun, moon, and stars, you're going to have to come out of that blindness, because all those calendars are wrong. And the true Scriptural Almanac is based upon sevens and the 7-day Sabbath in particular.
That's right.
So as you look at this 364-day year, we have 12 months. They're divided into the seasons. You understand? The seasons of spring, or the latter rains, summer, autumn, or latter summer, and the early rains are called winter. Festivals are fixed. Look here, the equinoxes and solstices are the midpoints. And here we are right here, right now. And you can see that May, and as we have it here, the 4th month of Judah, there's 3 months in summer, and the solstice is the middle of the summer. And we're going to, in the middle of the summer season, and we're going to prove that very clearly today, if you haven't seen these things already. And guess what? Now that AI and all of that is out, type those things in, man, because I'm having a field day going in AI and, getting more information about these things, because I know the information's out there, but it's just hard to grasp and navigate. And with AI, it's going to start running things for you. And, we just compare it to this, what we understand as the scriptures. Again, we never used AI. We don't use those things to prove things, but great references and understandings. And even for just the layman who's just trying to get a good grip of these topics and understandings, I would say use AI, type in solar seasons and all of that kind of stuff, and get that information and study it. Scripture.
Daniel 2, verse 20. Blessed be the name of Jah forever and ever, for wisdom and might are his, and he changeth the times and the seasons.
See, we glorify Jah, the Father, and Jehoshua, the Messiah, greatly in his or their wisdom. And the wisdom is coming from the Holy Scriptures and giving forth an understanding so you can see these things. And a lot of people, can read scriptures, but they won't get the deep understanding. And I use this example a few times, but a lot of people wouldn't understand to know that there's 2 sets of triplets in the Bible. We have Shem, Ham, and Japheth, who are triplets. That means they were born at the same time. Japheth was probably born first, and then yet second and third. But they are triplets, and you can see that in the read. But if you're not having an understanding, you wouldn't be able to see that. You're like, what's going on here? But Brother Javed and I, and even some of the sisters in the assembly, we talk about these things, and we give thanks to Jah, because we all could read the same verse, and you might not see any, the truth that's in it. And yes, people can have an opinion, but opinions vanish once truth is on the scene. And this is something that we hold dearly to our heart and our zeal. Jah is the one who's doing these changes, so he's going to show us what these changes are. So, when we're looking at these days, months, and seasons of the year of Jah's Almanac, 12 months, 364 days in a common year, And these are the amount of days in each month. And we're not even using, the names like Abib, Ziph, Savan, or any names, just numerical, because you can still utilize all of these things with just numbers. And then we have the 6 month summer and winter seasons. So you can see here's 3 months, 1, 2, 3 months of the latter rains, and sorry, latter rains, and 3 months of the first rains or the early rains. And you can see again here 91 days, the spring rains, winter rains, and summer is sandwiched in between. So with the color codes, it can help you to see, like, hey, the rainy seasons, and the summer season is in the middle of the rainy seasons that way, when you're looking at it from the beginning of the year. Scripture.
Wisdom of Solomon, chapter 7, verse 17. For he hath given me certain knowledge of the things that are, namely, to know how the world was made, and the operation of the elements, the beginning, ending, and midst of the times, the alterations of the turning of the sun, and the change of seasons, the circuits of years, and the positions of stars.
Now, outside of getting into the positions of stars, although it wouldn't be too hard for us to try to look at that. We're looking at a lot of these other things. So when we're dealing with Jah's Almanac, chronology is involved. Chronology is the counting of time, having a beginning of time, which is called an epoch. And this is why when you hear us say we're in the year 6,226, that's 6,226 years from year one. And this is how we understand things with cycles. We have the circuits of years is understood as the 28-year cycle, or the Jubilee cycle is also involved in this count, 700-year cycle, the century cycles, the 7,000-year cycle, all of these great circuits or cycles of years we put forth greatly. And it is deep. It is, a lot to look into, but just like everything else, you got to begin somewhere, right? The scriptures itself is a deep book. You understand? And you're not going to be getting any depths of it if you just read Genesis or you just read parts of it. You definitely have to go through it. And if you consider yourself a scriptural believer in the Messiah, and you're seeking eternal life, I hope you're reading the scriptures and that you've read it. You should be, if years have passed by, you should at least have one read under your belt, at least. And I say when I say read, I mean a purposeful observational read. Like, hey, I'm going to read Genesis, I'm going to take notes, highlight, and go through, and don't break up and skip books and chapters. You're going to go all the way through it, and this is very important. And if you're not doing those things, I would encourage you to do it, because that's just the way your knowledge is going to grow. You read a story from the beginning to the end, and it's no different here.
True.
So we know the changes of the seasons. You notice it says the alterations and the turning of the sun. The sun does the movement out here. The earth doesn't do no movement. It's not going around the sun. It's not spinning on an axis. It's not tilted and all of that stuff. That's all a bunch of mathematical deceptions. And this is where we are. We understand the end, the beginning, the middle, and the end of the times. Doesn't mean we know when the Messiah is coming in the day and hour, but it's something that we seek out. And this information is in Scripture, and the Most High wants to reveal things to us more than you would ever know. He has secrets there, so he can reveal them to his servants, right? And that's what it's all about. And you got to look at it that way, that Jah wants you to go digging for his gems, his great treasures that he has in his book. And as you do that, your faith will increase, and he'll also give you more of his Holy Spirit so that you can overcome the temptations and, the sin of this world.
That's right.
Go ahead, Brother Javid.
The climate in Jerusalem is usually very predictable. There are two distinct seasons. In the center of Israel was winter and summer. Psalm 74, verse 17. Thou hast set all the borders of the earth. Thou hast made summer and winter. Summer begins from May to October, and winter begins from November to April.
Now, these are true facts. They're just stated. They're facts. We've used the Holy Scriptures greatly to show the rainy seasons. And because it's summer, I might just do a little bit of the quoting for the rainy season, but not going to get into it because I'm focusing on the summer understanding. But this is how it goes. And one thing I have to let you know, we're proving these things, number one, by the Holy Scriptures, and number two, by the climate and in the land of Israel, in the land of Canaan. Anybody want to tell you stupidness that Israel or the land of Canaan or whatever, Jerusalem is in South Africa or somewhere in which you would call Africa, although where it is a part of Africa, if you know what I mean. It's still a part of Middle Earth that way. But there's no way in Central Africa, West Africa, North Africa, when people try to use the Gihon, the scripture as the Gihon River, and they get it mixed up with this a different Gihon, and they try to say, oh, it's in Africa and this and that. Very simple to know where Israel would be if you're going to try to search it out. And we got to use our wisdom. Use Jah's natural landmarks, right?
Mm-hmm.
Uses north, east, south, west borders. And in the east, you got the Jordan River going down, to the Sea of Galilee and heading up as well to the Dead Sea or the Bitter Sea or the Salt Sea. And then you have on the west, big body of water called the Mediterranean Sea or the Middle Earth Sea. And then on the right, the south, you would have Egypt and the Philistines there, and at the far north you have mountains going up into Dan. And these things are in the scriptures. So I know that the Messiah, when he came, over 2,000 years ago, that when he came to the earth, he was walking around. It mentions the Sea of Galilee, Jordan River, the Dead Sea or the Sea of Salt, the Mediterranean Sea or the Great Sea. All of those things are mentioned in his journeys and in the Gospels. So when people come with that foolishness and try to talk about, and so usually people are trying to get this Hamite thing and taking the black to Africa thing way too far. You have to keep it in the proper sense of scripture, and scripture will correct them still. But they swear about that and go on about it and shooting off their mouth and trying to show things in different patterns and all making their map even go really weird. But it doesn't go that way. And I just speak very zealous of that because I'm tired of people like not even trying to figure it out that way. Just use your brains. You don't have to like go into big ancient maps. Just think to yourself, where are these landmarks that were there, natural landmarks, mountains, Mount Sinai, where are they? Are they in South Africa? Is the Jordan River, the Dead Sea, and the Mediterranean, is it over there in South Africa? Is it in Central Africa? No, no, not at all. I mean, I made a 2-hour video. I think we made it into 2 parts too. And it's like, man, you only need 5 minutes to prove that. But again, the devil has deceived the whole world. Scripture.
Genesis 1, verse 14. And Elohim said, let there be lights in the firmament of the heaven to divide the day from the night, and let them be for signs and for seasons and for days and years.
Yeah. So do you see anything about holy weeks or Sabbaths here, Brother Javid?
Nope.
What about holy months? Aren't they to divide the months?
Nope.
What about as signs for the festivals?
Nope.
Now they'll try to say, because the word seasons is moed, and that can also be referred to the festivals, they're going to say, hey, that's what it's about. But no way. Don't even try that. Nice try. It's just the seasons. And you know what these seasons are? If you define everything by the scripture and you use scripture line upon line, here's your seasons right here in Genesis chapter 8. Still in Genesis.
Genesis 8, verse 22. While the earth remaineth, seed time and harvest, and cold and heat, and summer and winter, and day and night shall not cease.
Okay, so up here we have their lights to divide the day from the night. We have them to be for signs for what seasons. Here's the seasons right here. Seed time, harvest, cold, heat, summer, winter, and of course days and years. And we know when summer and winter are grouped together, because those you don't see autumn and spring in the scriptures. You'll see summer and winter as 2 6-month periods, and you can divide those 6-month periods into 2 and give you 3-month periods, 4 seasons. But it's it's a full year. And I'll prove that as well and show that. So when people try to use the lunar cycle or anything, you're not going to find nowhere. Nobody can find a place where the Most High says, you see that crescent moon? That's the beginning of months. You see that full moon? That's the beginning of months. You see anything. All they can look in is find a mistranslation of the word new moon when it should be new month. But the heathens have tried to make it seem like it's a lunar cycle and that the Most High uses for his festivals. But it's not. No mention of these things. And when they try to say seasons is moed again, no, it's referring to these seasons. These are the things that when Jah made the 7-day Sabbath, as I said before, it was just a count. Anything you want to add here, Brother Javid?
No, I think we're good.
All right. So we see that in the scriptures, rain is associated with the winter season. And this is, scripturally speaking.
Song of Solomon, chapter 2, verse 11. For lo, the winter is past, the rain is over and gone. The flowers appear on the earth, the time of the singing of the birds is come, and the voice of the turtle dove is heard in our land.
Mhm. So, looking at these verses here, again, the winter is past, rain is over. See the association with the winter and the rain. It does snow in the land of Israel, but it's usually in the northern parts and more up on Mount Hermon, up at the higher levels that way, but it still snows during these time periods. But notice it says that the winter is past, the rain is over. That's the latter rains, so they're gone. And what comes? The flowers appear. And one thing you got to know and understand about these things is when you're talking about spring over here in North America, when it's raining and things aren't going to be all blooming right away, but the ground, the seeds, the roots are digging down. Things are getting greener. The collection of the water from the snow and the precipitation is going on in order to prepare it for. I mean, this is to me, this verse here is your basic April showers bring May flowers,
Flowers,
right?
yes.
And when I was doing some research on this, brother Job, it's people are saying like, there were so many different little rhymes just like that. April showers bring May flowers that would show the true seasons, and little sayings and little poems. And again, April showers bringing May flowers should be very clear to you and understanding that. But here's your scriptural understanding. So we see that rain and the winter, and of course that means it's going to be cold, is in this area here. And then when the winter's gone, summer is coming up. And let's
Mhm.
look at how summer is. Summer is going to be the opposite of the rainy season.
Psalms 32, verse 4. For day and night thy hand was heavy upon me. My moisture is turned into the drought of summer.
That's right. So, it's talking about the drought of summer. It ain't talking about a famine that can occur or a drought that can occur. It's just linking this understanding. Summer is a drought. In the land of Israel, it doesn't rain for those 6 months. It's amazing. And
That's
this is like
right.
that. This could be on other parts of the world in different fashions, but in terms of the right scriptural orientation, it doesn't rain for 6 months, and then it'll rain for 6 months. And this is how we can clearly identify the scriptural seasons and use the land of Israel, the proper land of Israel, not Africa and all of that stuff. Even though, I mean, land of Canaan is a part of the land of Ham. We'll say it better in terms of the land of Ham that way. But it's a drought. A bless up Judah Blaze, and a shout out to all those again who are just joining us on this holy Sabbath. One love to you.
Shabbat Shalom.
So, as we have our things at chart, again, look at the color coding. We have the latter rains, we have our festivals, the first 3 months. Then we have summer, and this is where we are now, early summer for the next 3 months, May, June, and July. June being the middle of summer, and then August, September, October, dealing with late summer, or people would call autumn. And September is the middle. That's where you get your equinox. And then we go to November again, we got the early part of winter. Like a lot of our charts, are well put together. And I can say I've spent literally hundreds of hours perfecting charts over the years and making sure they're accurate and proper and very simple and concise for people to read, so that if you get one, you're going to know what's going on. Now, whether you believe these things are true, that's up to you and your faith and your studies. But everything that you see on the screen here is how it goes when it comes to Jah's Scriptural Almanac, or the true scriptural calendar. Some people like to call it the creation calendar or the creation almanac. This is how it is. Even though we can go to the climate in Israel month by month, and I usually cover these things, and I'm just going to cover the transitional month from April going over to May, just to give you an understanding of how these months transist. But otherwise, you can do your own thing. Go month by month, type in climate of Israel, and type in when does winter begin, and when does the rainy season begin, when does, do that research. And then you'll come up with a lot of the references that we use. And if we, of course, provide the scriptural foundation for these things. But this information is out there. It's not like it's you have to buy certain books outside of getting Jah's True Almanac. That's important. So again, I'm encouraging people to do this research if you find that it's of interest to you. And it's it's not easy to get into, but it's a very valuable study.
Mm-hmm.
Go ahead, brother.
The 6 wettest and coldest months in Jerusalem generally align with its winter and early spring seasons. Based on average data, the months are December, January, February, March, November, and April. Wettest months: The majority of Jerusalem's annual rainfall occurs during the winter, specifically from November to March. January is consistently the wettest month, followed closely by December and February. The coldest months. January is the coldest month of the year in Jerusalem, with the lowest average daily temperatures. December and February are also part of the cool season.
That's right. So again, this is some information we're getting from the internet under searching and googling it up, but not just using the Google AI tool to get a little bit more. And we can see that these 6 months, although they didn't put them in order for some reason, but it'd be November, December, January, February, March, and April. Again, this is perfect. When you look at the Scriptural Almanac, like we say, it could be detailed, but it can be so simple. 6 months of rain and 6 months of sun. I mean, you can't get any better than that. And then you could just divide those things up. So we have the coldest months, is January. And for the most part, all over the world, except when you go to, the very southern regions, things are flipped. But for the most part, all over the world, January is the coldest month of the year. And even though the world tries to give you the Gregorian calendar and say January is the first month, we know it's February. And I mean, it kind of makes common sense. Wouldn't the last month of the year be the coldest month of the year? Right?
True.
So, it would be the coldest. And although February is a cold month, spring is a cold season. People, again, have kind of a little bit deceived about spring. And when they're coming to summer, they think that's what spring is. Spring is the beginning of the greenery. Spring deals with the latter rains. It doesn't deal with the blooming of flowers automatically. I mean, you'll get 1 and 2 in certain things, but you're getting the trees, and the plants getting ready for summertime. And if you really look at it, you'll see it and study these things. I've studied it, like I said, for over 30 years, whether it's in scripture form and all that, but actually going out there in nature, looking around, collecting information, looking at the ants, all of these great things, and studying the birds. This helps in understanding just true seasons, because it seems like the animals are more obedient to just seasons than human beings are.
True.
Go ahead.
Summer in Jerusalem runs from May to October. The one sure thing about this time of year is it will not rain. This is great when you are on tour, because if you don't mind a little heat, you can count on sightseeing every day of your trip without rain or storms to stand in your way.
Mm-hmm. And again, we read this already, Brother Javid. It just says, again, the drought of summer scripture, right? Confirming it won't rain. I got this information, and you can get this information from traveling, travel sites. People want to go to Israel or any country in the world. Usually that travel site, website is going to have all the information about the climate, what's the best time of year to go and not the good time to go, and what you might need and all of that. And they break things down. And any website that talks about going to Israel is going to give you the same information about it, because it's very plain. There's no rain from May until October, right? Going right to November. Now, it doesn't mean that a freak rain can't come, but in terms of measurable rain, no. And this is usually, the first week you might see, just like how you see now, a little bit of that rain. And it doesn't mean May 1st, because Jah's Almanac kind of, it's fixed, but the Gregorian calendar moves. And when you start to learn about another season called the solar seasons, this is going to put everything together perfectly for you. So these are facts. Again, here's the transition I was talking about. I'm just going to read this here, Brother Javed, a bit. So in April, which is Sivan, the 3rd month, it says April is sunny with at least 9 hours of daily sunshine and clear skies for 85% of the time. The precipitation registers below 25.4 milliliters, even in the wettest regions. It's comfortable going up into the Easter holidays. Rain, seawater temperatures, okay. But now when you get to May, and again, this is all from one information, notice what it says. May is dry and sunny in Israel with 11 hours of bright sunshine and 14 hours of daylight. So again, getting into the sun aspect of things. Temperatures, range from 18.9 and going up to 32. And one thing, when you're getting this information about, we're talking about May, and you're going to hear other people speak about these things, is that, you have the beginning of May, there's a temperature, and then at the end of the May, you're going to see a drastic increase. And so, sometimes it's like about 10 to 12 degrees increase in temperature. And sometimes it's like 7 to 8, how it is in Toronto. And in Toronto, believe it or not, Brother Job, at this time of year, as you come into May, our average is supposed to be around 17 degrees, right? And so
Okay.
this year has been a cool year. It's been a very cool year, very wet precipitation. But I think though we're going to get blessed by all, the plant and the agriculture, because all of that rain and everything, is going to be very valuable, especially for people who have gardens, and just to have the beauty there sticking around, because the summer, as you know, things can dry up. So, again, just looking at this understanding, the precipitation is generally absent in Israel by mid-May, and most regions are hot and dry. Expected temperatures to rise significantly by the end of spring season in May. You see that in Israel?
Mm.
You
Yes.
see this understanding? And even though, like, I'm not got into the scriptures of this yet, again, just look at the information that is out there. We usually think summer's in June 21st, like everybody talks, and we've been brainwashed, but that's not so. And that's why I hope this information really helps you to start looking at things in a more cleaner way.
Mm-hmm. And the amazing part of this information is that these are things that you can observe, that you can see with your own eyes, and
Mhm.
confirm these things to be true. These are observable things. And just because you haven't been taught these things, we don't see them. But then when you see them, it becomes confirmed in your mind.
Mhm. So as they say, you can't unsee it anymore.
That's right.
Go ahead, brother.
In Israel, May is traditionally considered the start of summer due to distinct meteorological shifts and historical administrative practices. Arrival of the dry season. May marks a definitive end to the rainy winter. Meteorologically, Israel has two primary seasons: a cool, rainy winter from October to April, and a dry, hot summer beginning in May. By May 2026, monthly rainfall is expected to drop to almost zero, with an average of only 1 day precipitation across the country. Rising temperatures. While June to August are the peak heat months, May initiates the summer heat profile, with average daily highs reaching 26 degrees Celsius to 27 degrees Celsius in cities like Jerusalem and Tel Aviv, and up to 33 degrees Celsius in Eilat.
That's right. Eilat. So, when a season starts or changes, it doesn't turn off right away. Just like I know for a fact, like although summer started Thursday evening, and let's call it Friday yesterday, and we're in the second day of summer, I know that the next few days are going to be cool. But I also know two things: we should be getting a thunderstorm here or there, because that's a sign of the seasons changing from spring to summer. It's one thing I've observed. And in saying that, if you're looking for certain thunderstorms within the next week, also look for, it's a good time to be looking for rainbows too. I usually see rainbows around the beginning of summer as well, in
Mm.
Toronto, of course. Now you can look for those things, but these are, certain signs of the changing of things. So it's going to be cool as I like to look into the forecast by the Javid, and but it comes like by this coming Thursday or so, it's going to be going from 13 jumping right up to 17, 18, and then we're going to be going from there. It's almost like there's no turning back. We'll be
Mm.
the high double digits, if not going into the 20s, that way. So again, just looking at the summer season, this is where we're kind of are right now. It's the second day of summer. It's the fourth month, but I just color coded just to kind of so you can see, when you look at it, there's 6 months of summer and the 6 months of the winter or the rain. The first month of Bib is equal to February. February is the first month of spring or the latter rains for 3 months. And then after the 3 months where we are finishing off here, we go to the summer. And you got here, and then it goes back over to here. So we can see again, it's almost like night and day when you're looking at things, really.
True, true. And we know that Jah loves to divide things into two. And you can see here clearly by Sean's color coding chart that the 12 months of the calendar year can easily be divided into the two seasons that we read about in scriptures, which is summer and winter.
That's
6 months of dry heat and 6 months of cold, wet rain.
Mm-hmm. No, let me just take this over for a second because I don't want you to read everything here. Increased solar radiation may see a significant jump in daylight and sunshine. That's for sure. 14 hours of daylight. Um, when it says 14 hours of daylight and 11 hours of bright sunshine daily, it's good to understand how to read and understand what is going on here. Because if it's 14 hours of daylight, but then there's 11 hours of bright sunshine, what is that saying? Well, that means that for 3 hours, it might be cloudy. That's all it's telling you. But when this from the sun rising until the sun setting, it's going to give you 14 hours of daylight time, and then
Mm.
if there's going to be still some clouds around, you're going to get 11 hours of bright sunshine daily. Again, this is average, right? So looking at these things historically under the British Mandate in the early years, state of Israel. This is important here to kind of take in. Summertime or daylight saving time often officially commenced in May. This is how it was before, brother.
Mhm.
While modern Israel now switches to Israel summertime in late March. The association of May with the start of the summer season remains culturally and meteorologically significant. So again, they're trying to switch up things, don't want people to know what's going on. But I'll tell you something, when they go back to standard time, because right now not everybody goes to daylight savings time, but when they go back to standard time, it's going to be in the beginning, the first Sunday or the beginning of winter. You understand? In November, the first Sunday in November is when they go back to it, and November is equivalent to the beginning of winter. So you can't hide certain things. They're trying to hide it
Mhm.
now, but they used to do it in May. But it's that what's going on here. And by mid-May, the lush green landscapes of spring begin to fade, replaced by the dusty look characteristics of the long dry summer as plants enter their mature or dormant phases. Again, just some information. Getting from May till October. This is the average rainfall in Jerusalem. From May to mid-October, there's no significant rainfall. The rainy season begins late in October and goes until April ends. So you have a little bit in April, but officially it's November, December, January, February, March, and April is your 6 months of rain. And then May, June, July, August, September, and October are your 6 months of summer. You can see this anywhere you go into the land of Canaan or the land of Israel. It's going to be the same thing. From May until October, there's going to be no rain. It's the summer. The temperatures are going to be way warmer from May till October. Doesn't matter if you're in Tel Aviv or Beit Dagan or in Jerusalem or in Haifa or Safed or Beersheba, all of that same area, you're going to get the same exact thing. May till October, no rain. The higher temperatures from May to October, and from November till the end of April is the 6 month rainy season. Very clear and understanding. You can screenshot these if you want to, but again, if you're looking for this information yourself, it's out there. Scripture.
Daniel 2, verse 20. Daniel answered and said, Blessed be the name of Jah forever and ever, for wisdom and might are his. And he changeth the times and the seasons. He removeth kings, and setteth up kings. He giveth wisdom unto the wise, and knowledge to them that know understanding. He revealeth the deep and secret things. He knoweth what is in the darkness, and the light dwelleth with him.
This is why we glorify Jah and Jehoshua. The wisdom is great. Again, we read a little bit of here, changes the times and the seasons, right? We read that before, but you're seeing it coupled here now with everything else, giving wisdom unto the wise, knowledge to them that know understanding, revealing deep and secret things. This is what it's about. This is what we talk about Jah revealing and helping us, and we glorify him in knowledge, wisdom, and understanding, is because he reveals these things from his words. And then he'll give you all kind of little things in the world to help confirm things. Jah is worthy to be praised. Jah and Jehoshua are great, revealers of secrets. And I'm really, privileged and humbled to be a part of these things because it's our great, great, great treasures that Jah has given us.
Praise Jah.
Again, looking at the year, the latter rains, it says up here, Passover, all of that is in the month. The festivals are set. The Passover will always begin on the first day of the week. We've shown that so many times. We have the latter rains, spring, the barley and wheat first fruit harvest, all in these first 3 months. Then we have the early summer fruits and vegetables, full fruits, grain harvest coming through for the next 6 months. But this is the first 3 months. continuing over to latter summer or autumn, where we get our fruits and vegetables, and the ingathering, start to gather things at the end of the seventh month as they move through. And then the early rains or winter or seed time when you're planting again the harvest so that it can come back over here. So again, looking at the organization of things decently and in order, the equinoxes and solstices always are the middle. And to me, that's a big one, man. It's like I wish I
Mm.
could shout it out louder. It's like, I need you to look this in. Just take a time. Don't, I know it sounds crazy, but look into it. I'm telling you, you look into these things, you're gonna get the truth. And I know the Most High reveals certain things to individuals at His will, and I just pray that you know that might be your will, that He'll reveal these things too.
Hmm.
Again, I'm just showing so much about the precipitation from May to October. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and then you have the rainy season: November, December, January, February, March, April. Again, very clear. In Israel, January is the coldest month. July and August are the hottest months because they're right in the middle. July and August. July is the sixth month. August is the seventh month. That's the middle between 1 and 12. And most of the average rainfall in Israel falls between November and April. May through to mid October are usually rainless. Again, more confirmations of these things. The Compact Bible Dictionary says here, page 48, in Palestine or Israel, the rainy season extends from October to April, the dry season from May to October. Early rains occur in October and November. You got your scriptures, the latter rain in March and April. Crops are therefore planted so that they will grow during the rainy season and be ready for when it's summer. Again, information that is very powerful references. Smith's Bible Dictionary. If you want to go online, you can get it, or if you have one yourself. Under agriculture, the period donated by the common scriptural expressions of the early and latter rains, generally reaching from November to April, constituted the rainy season, and the remainder of the year was the dry season. So again, November to April is the rainy season, according to the Bible, how it's supposed to be. And we see that Israel matches up perfectly with it.
Hmm.
The latter rains start in the first month. Brother Javid.
Joel chapter 2, verse 23. Be glad then, ye children of Zion, and rejoice in Jah your El, for he hath given you the former rain moderately, and he will cause to come down for you the rain, the former rain and the latter rain in the first month.
Very powerful verse. And although I said I'm not going to get into the rains too much, because the rains actually prove everything very clearly, the rainy season. And Brother Javid always likes to remind me, you know what I mean? Nobody out there, Brother Shani always says is trying to seek the Almanac by using the rainy seasons. They're usually trying to do it by the equinoxes and solstices. But the rainy seasons are very profound in the Holy Scriptures. He says he's going to give it in his due season. He said his eyes are upon the land of Israel from the beginning of year to the end to give all the rain. So, and I know it's a different aspect, and that's how this thing goes. That's Brother Javid, that's how this thing goes. When we come with the truth, they're not going to know the difference because it's been flipped around, and people going to look at it and go, that sounds weird, that's odd, doesn't make no sense. But it's the truth because of the deception that's been around for so long. And I love these things, man. I'll tell you something, because I used to be in falsehood before as well. And when you kind of come into the truth, it's so satisfying. But seeing that the latter rains begin in the first month, latter rains will last for Abib, Ziph, and Sivan. That means it's for that 3 months. The early rains are going to be the 3 months before that. Remember the charts that we're using.
Right.
So once you know that
Yeah.
the latter rains begin in the first month, you can't say that the first month would be, let's call it March or April. Because if you said it's March, then you have March, April, and May. And remember, May is a no rain month, right? If you understand those things. If you're really going to say April was the beginning, and when they're saying March, let me say something. When they say March and they're doing the equinox, it's March 21st. It's near the end of March, 3 weeks into March, and 10 days before it ends. So it's really 10 days closer to April than it is closer to the beginning of March. That's something for you to think
True.
about. And
Yeah,
so
true.
if you want to have April, May, and June, they can't be latter rain months. Rain months are rain, and it's very established in the land of Israel. Again, scriptural months, you can see what we're dealing with here. March is mid-spring. The solstice is midsummer. Mid-autumn is the September equinox. and the winter solstice is midwinter. Things begin in February, but in the world, in the lunar calendar that people use, they're going to say Nisan or March is going to be when their beginning of their year is. And all of it, again, you can see very clearly on this chart, another great chart to give you the climate, what's going on, the Babylonian lunar Enoch falsehood equinox calendars, the equivalents of just scriptural months with the names according to the Gregorian, and even the crops that are supposed to be there. Beautiful stuff, man. I love charts, as you know. I love charts, man. I just think that it says so much when you sit down and study it. It says a lot, and accurate charts at that with good information is something that I kind of set the bar high for myself in promoting these things of Jah with great zeal to make it perfect, because I do believe that just things are perfect, and just things are also beautiful too. Just colors and stuff, and I like those things as well. So
Yes, no
again,
doubt.
beautiful things to look into here. I mean, I squished this up though, just so you guys can see. See the blue. This is the latter rains. Then you got from May, Judah, the fourth month. You got your 3 months of summer. You got your 3 months of latter summer or autumn, and then you got your 3 months of the early rains that begin in November again. Hey, this is the year, but look at the color code. It's like summer sandwiched between the two rainy seasons. You understand? The latter rains and the early rains. Go ahead, brother. Drop it.
As a day is likened to a prophetical year, even so a year has the dark, cold season of winter and the light, hot season of summer. Like an actual 24-hour day of cool, dark night season and the light, warm daytime. The seasons of winter and summer symbolize both darkness and light, or 1 year and night. Night and light equals 1 day. The 6 month summer season is a time of much light compared to the darkness. The 6 month winter season is a time when the darkness is much more compared to the light.
So again, let's take a look at that, how that looks. So here we have our 24-hour day, right? We got the evening, the night, the daylight time. Very easy. When we look at, let's just look at the seasons. Seed time that occurs in the winter, the rainy season. It's cold. The winter is the rainy season. Night, darkness, evening. When you look at all of these things, just looking at from a 24-hour day and then kind of projecting it, on a bigger model of the year, it's like a day's. This is when you hear the scripture says a day is like a year, because a 24-hour day is like it's symbolic of a full year. I mean, just taking a look again, the harvest is in the summer. Now, when I say the harvest, the bringing in of the summer harvest, we're not talking about the wheat harvest that is in this cold time here. The heat, summer, day, light, morning, all of that. And in saying this, again, we're using Genesis 1:1, the first day of creation, and then Genesis 8, verses 22, when Noah just came off the ark. When we look at the definition of the word winter, it's Sethav, which means rainy season. The winter, the rainy season, from an unused root meaning to hide. And look what it says right here. Winter as the dark season. Winter. So again, you kind of get an idea of the depths of where I'm going at. I mean, I hope it's not too kind of confusing or anything, but I'm trying to really make things more clear. Understanding that winter is equal to the rainy season. Remember, we read that verse already. The winter is gone. The rainy season is over. The flowers are blooming and whatnot. Again, putting all of this information together. And we're talking about how, again, it's the dark season. When we look at it again, the winter, rain, cold, evening, darkness, night, that's for this 6 months. So that 6 months beginning from November going through to the end of April would be considered the dark season, the winter season, the rain. It's the evening, it's darkness, it's night. Whereas after that, they have the 6 month summer season. Again, summer, dry, heat, morning, light. It's almost like you can just see it just by looking at the chart and this understanding. But let's get it even more clear. We read Genesis 1:14 about the lights. There was nothing about moons, months, or holy days. And when we take what's in Genesis 8:22 and looking at all these things, we'll see that 2 seasons make one great season called a year. We have the winter or the rainy season and the summer and the dry season. I mean, I could just stop right there and say, hey, we just went through that. We went through winter is 6 months long, summer is 6 months long. It's almost like, the 12-hour night cycle and the 12-hour daylight cycle. Beautiful things. I love when things
Mm.
match up, right? And when we even get a little bit deeper, we get into the cold, cloudy skies of during the winter time, right? Seed time and sowing, when you're planting, the things are growing in the ground, whereas over here, the things are growing out of the ground. We have the night, the darkness, the evening, and the dusk. Again, the opposite: summer, heat, hot, harvest, reaping, daylight, morning. See, we're planting and then we're reaping. Again, you could see this in a year, looking even more clearly on a circle. Winter starts November, let's say, right? That's the nighttime, like the evening, winter, cold rain. And then midnight or the middle of winter would be the winter solstice, the darkest, the longest night of the year. Then we go summer, starts in May, as we're showing, and that would have the daylight part, the summer, the dry heat. And then we have midsummer, which is the June summer solstice, which is the middle of summer, although the world starts it as the beginning of summer. But that's really wrong and erroneous. And again, this is 1 year. Looking at it again, how the seasons, 6 months of winter, 6 months of summer, night and day. Oh man, these things are good. And I want you to be able to see this connection, because you know false calendars and almanacs using other dates and times can't be looking perfect like this. It's going to be twisted, right? It doesn't work. You can't fit it. You can make a circle and still plot things, but it won't cover the idea of night and day and darkness and winter and summer. And these things, again, I give credit to Jah for giving understanding of this information here that we see in the scriptures and in the world.
Yes, praise Jah.
Praise Jah. Night, day. I mean, we could look at it another way again, different charts. We got winter starts, and it's the dominating thing is the moon during the winter time. It's out longer, it's shining even a little bit brighter during these times, whereas the sun is like it's out less, right? Nights are longer in the winter time than days are. But we go through this. We have the winter again cold, then you go to midwinter, which is the December solstice or the winter solstice, when they say winter begins, but it's the middle. And then summer starts in May. It's the summer dry heat, the summer solstice, which is the height of summer. I want you to remember that. The solstice is the height of summer, the longest day of the year. And this is again 1 year. Midwinter would be midnight, and midsummer would be midday. Looking at it from a 24-hour day perspective,
Hmm.
as well as a yearly perspective. What do you think about that, Brother Javed?
It's a great analogy, and it shouldn't be too hard to understand when you project this 24-hour day and into a 12-month year, a calendar year. It's like night and day, right? The two divisions of a day, you have day and night, which equals a 24-hour day, and now you have a 12-month year of summer and winter. Summer, the day is where the sun is out longer and it's hot and dry, and then you have winter where the moon is now out longer and it's cold and wet. It's a
Right.
beautiful division of how Jah does things.
That's right. It's his patterns. Darkness first, right?
That's right.
All right. Now, this is what's good for all of us to get into as we get into some things. There are three types of seasonal observations in the world: astronomical seasons, meteorological or thermal seasons, and solar or daylight seasons. Now, as we're looking at this understanding, we're going to break it down. This is where I'm going to show a couple of little videos. A couple of them I've shown before, and maybe a few new ones for the brothers and sisters out there, get something new in there. But again, astronomical seasons, dealing with equinox and solstices, that's what the world uses. It's all about that and what they're doing. The meteorological or thermal seasons, that's for the weather guys, the weathermen. And they just really make it simple because they want to say, hey, we're not worried about the astronomical, the 21st of March, or the sun. They're just talking about temperature. You understand? So
Mm.
temperature-based months. These are 3 seasons. The world follows astronomical seasons. You turn on your news, they're dealing with this, and they'll mix things. Nobody's going to be talking about this except certain people, because this solar or the daylight seasons, governed by the sun, by the way, people are not going to talk about. And this is why we're here, right? To find those individuals and to dig up this information. So let me get a couple of videos here. We're going to probably start with one. Let me see where we at. Media. What do we have? Let's talk about meteorological and astronomical seasons. I want to bring you through so you understand fully, these things, so that in your daily grind, it's going to help you a little bit better.
Welcome to a new season, meteorologically speaking, but what's the difference? We take it to outer space and we start with astronomical seasons because, after all, that's probably the one that you're most familiar with, the one that you learned in school. We know that astronomical winter began with the winter solstice, marking the day with the shortest amount of daylight of the year, and also marking the time when the solar energy is the greatest in the southern hemisphere, not to be confused with the north. We know that that's astronomical, but what else do we know? Well, we know that they both start and end with the two equinoxes and the two solstices. But did you know that in astronomical seasons, they're not exactly 3 months in length? That's because they are actually variations in date. Bring in our new best friend, the meteorological seasons, which always begin on the first of the month, always end on the last day of the month, and they are always 3-month periods. And that's because there's no variation in date. In other words, at a side-by-side comparison, look at how much cleaner and easier it is to look at the meteorological seasons. Remember, an astronomical winter, even though the winter solstice is on December 21st, there are some years where it may vary. But in meteorological, there's no change, and it's always the same every single year. Boy, I wish everything in meteorology were that simple.
So we got the meteorological seasons, and remember the solar seasons that we're leaving, kind of as that third season is just true seasons and how things were governed a long time ago. But again, just looking, we see it. Meteorological seasons, their fall is September, October, November, December, January, February. Spring is March, April, and May. Summer is June, July, and August. And as we say, we know summer for us is May is the beginning of summer. So it's not this, solar seasons here. Astronomically, they wait till September 22nd, 21st, December 20th, and 21st of these given months here. And like I said, it's almost like these dates are closer to, September 22nd is more closer to October.
October.
Is it October? Yes, October. It's more closer to October than it is September. December 21st is more closer to January than it is December 1st. March 20th is more closer to April than it is to March 1st. And June 21st is closer to July than it is to June. So again, looking at these things. So when they say that summer begins in June, they're going to be talking a lot about, the meteorological weather, but also near the last week of June, which everybody follows this model. So I noticed, when we're going through a lot of people's studies and they use that 822, the Earth remains seed time. This is what the world has been doing. They said seed time is the autumn or the autumnal or autumn equinox. Harvest is the vernal or spring equinox. Winter is the winter solstice. Summer is the summer solstice. It couldn't be anything further from the truth. You understand? This is all false. It looks great though, but it's false, right? According to your Holy Bible, according to what you see out there in terms of you really looking at the climate of, Israel or even other countries, just knowing what climate's all about. Let me see. Do I got another? Nope. We'll leave that for now. So, when we're looking at this is the creation week. And one thing I want to say is that when it comes to this understanding of, of seasons, many people want to say that, the beginning of the Most High's calendar is on the fourth day of the week when he made the sun, moon, and stars. He said, let them be for signs, seasons, days, and years. So people say, hey, that's the beginning. That's the beginning of the first month. That's the beginning of spring and all of this understanding. And they're going to do it in the middle of Jah's weekly cycle. You notice that day 4 is the middle of 7. You understand? But it doesn't go like that. But one thing I want to let you know is that although the sun, moon, and stars were made on day 4, they were also put into operation on day 5 of creation. That's very important. Just remember day 5. And when we get to the solar seasons, it's almost like, we get a good understanding of what these solar seasons are based upon. And even, I won't even say it anymore. We'll get there shortly. So again, what's the difference between all of these three now? I want you to see something. We're going to watch this video. The solars, May, June, and July. This is Jah's scriptural seasons are linked correctly with the solar seasons. Marks the sunniest period of the year. right? Then we have meteorological summer, again, starting in June, July, and August, based on the annual temperature. Then we have astronomical, again, that's this June the 20th or the 21st. Look at this, at 10:42 p.m., trying to all sound all exact and stuff like that. And, whatever with their science, what big whatever. They can try to use that. And it's based on the Earth's position around the sun. So you see, I want to let you know, we talked about, the heliocentric model and geocentric model, or jazz, how it goes. Look what the calendar that people are using, look what it's again based off of, and look what jazz thing is based off of, the sun. And they're basing it here on the Earth's position as it spins and moves around the sun. You understand? Meteorologically, we don't even have to worry about that. That's just for those guys to make it easier for us to understand temperatures. That's it. That's all. It has nothing to do with the scriptures or anything, any falsehood that way. So the key differences are, again, astronomical seasons defined by the Earth's tilt or orbit. We know that doesn't work. The meteorological seasons, fixed 3-month period for constant climate records, so they can just make it easy. Solar seasons, they say it's pagan or traditional, aligned with cross-quarter days. We spoke about that another time, which is November 1st for winter start, February 1st for spring start, earlier than the astronomical seasons. So let's get a little bit of information more about that. And I'll go right here. I like this one here. Let me see, do I have anything else? Oh, no, that's one more chart. Yeah. So now I said there's 3 different seasonal years. There are 3, but when you include Jah's Almanac, that makes it the 4th. And so I just want to look at this chart before I show the video, is that, all right, we have the 4 different seasonal years. The season, we have the scriptural seasons, the solar seasons, the meteorological seasons, and the astronomical seasons. So we learned about, spring, the equinox and stuff like that. Again, look at the solar seasons, early February. When it comes to Jah's scriptural season, it doesn't start exactly when the solar season does, but it's still early February. Jah's summer is early May, same with the solar, early May. Autumn is early August. Winter is early November. So you can see the solar seasons are more closer to Jah's scriptural seasons, which is a beautiful thing, because, many years ago, I didn't know anything about the solar seasons at all. I didn't know there's such thing as those things. And then when you find out what's going on, it's like, why are they not talking about this? Well, that's what it's about. Just strengthening us to bring more things to light. So these 2 are the true understandings. The astronomical seasons, like I said, they're going to be the middle of the solar seasons or the middle of the scriptural seasons. So let's watch this video here. One of the more ones I like, very clear, but pay attention.
Last time we checked out astronomical and meteorological seasons, but this time we will check out solar seasons. Solar seasons are actually based on insolation or solar radiation, where the solstices and equinoxes are viewed as the midpoints of the season. Solar seasons change about 3 to 4 weeks ahead of the meteorological seasons and about 6 to 7 weeks ahead of the astronomical seasons. And the best way to explain the seasons when it comes to solar is to look at a chart here involving the insolation at various latitudes in the northern hemisphere, starting off with the equator, 30 degrees north, 60 degrees north, and 90 degrees north. And we're mostly going to focus on the 30, 60, and 90 degree latitudes here when it comes to the increasing and decreasing amounts. So let's first start off here when it comes to spring, which consists of increasing insolation or solar radiation. And that's depicted here in the green for the months of February, March, and April. And you can already tell that those 3 areas, those 3 lines are actually beginning to increase. And it's with the equinox being at the midpoint of that solar spring. Now we move on into summer, where we see the months of maximum insolation or solar radiation, and that's depicted here in the red, and that happens throughout the months of May, June, and July. Now we start going in the opposite direction here as we start going into autumn here, and that actually begins in August, September, and October as we start seeing decreasing amounts of insolation or solar radiation. So you can already see how it's already hit its maximum in the summer, and now it's beginning to see that downward trend. And then lastly, in the blue there, we have winter, whereas the minimum insolation, and that actually happens in the months of November, December, but also in the months of January. And that is all when it comes to solar seasons.
Okay.
Nice.
Great video. It's the classic, one of the ones I use a lot. There's a couple of more, but again, this the information is great. You know that solar seasons are real. It's said that the equinox is the middle point. The spring equinox is the middle point of spring. And again, this is what we've been showing the brothers and sisters, right? Look at the equinoxes and solstices are the middle. They're not the beginning of the seasons. They're the middle of spring. It's the middle of summer. It's the middle of autumn. It's the middle of winter. Yeah, maybe that information is not enough for you, but there's a lot, that we can, continually expound upon. See, Jah's seasons are based around agriculture and farming. And as you know, the scriptures say, the Messiah says, my father is a husbandman. And a husbandman is an Old English word for also a farmer. Takes care of crops. And, if anything, farmers are believe it or not, farmers, besides being really strong and underrated, farmers are well in tune with the seasons and the growing seasons greatly. And they have to be, especially, again, if that's your livelihood. And these are the things that, I study and follow when I'm looking at the information here regarding Jah's Almanac. There's even a few little information for us out there if we wanted to put it to the test.
Mark 13, verse 28. Now learn a parable of the fig tree. When her branch is yet tender and putteth forth leaves, ye know that summer is near. So ye in like manner, when ye shall see these things come to pass, know that it is near, even at the doors. Luke 21, verse 29. And he spake to them a parable. Behold the fig tree and all the trees. When they now shoot forth, ye see and know of your own selves that summer is now nigh at hand. So likewise ye, when ye see these things come to pass, know ye that the kingdom of Jah is nigh at hand.
That's right. So this is good information. I use this information. I think when we talked about Pentecost, I was showing our Pentecost tree and how the buds and everything is starting to shoot forth, and the trees now, if you see now the trees putting forth their leaves, very shallow, very short and everything, not fully out, but the growing of leaves too, they grow too. They're small. They start off small and they go big and they become bigger than your hand. But this is good to know, knowing the progression of the season. It doesn't just change over, with the snap of your fingers or with the light switch. But because the heathens use their astronomical equinoxes, by that time that you're at the equinox or the solstice, you're already in the middle of that true season. So it's going to be looking very apparent, almost like a night and day switch too. But that's a part of this deception. When you see these things, when they're putting these forth, it says summer is near. And I'm just looking outside my window right now. The Pentecost tree now, it's already blossomed and it's going to be losing its flowers, and the leaves now are starting to push out. So let's get another look at another solar thing here. Here's a new one. Let me read this first. Solar seasons refer to the divisions of the year based purely on the amount of daylight or the sun's position. It's distinct from the standard astronomical seasons, the solstices and equinoxes, or the fixed meteorological seasons. They often align with the traditional pagan festivals like Imbolc, Beltane, and focus on the periods of the fastest light change: spring, the maximum light, summer, and the least light, winter. All right, so let's take a look at this brother here.
What a lovely spring day here in the merry month of May. And believe it or not, if you look at the seasons in a different way, this is actually summer, solar summer. And when we talk about solar seasons, that's really more about, the angle of the sun and where it is in the sky. And right now that the angle of that sun is way up high in the sky. In the wintertime in December, that's around that tree line. That's solar winter. So in solar summer, these are the 3 months of the year, May, June, July, where the sun is at its highest angle in the sky. It's also the strongest, so you have to be careful when you're outside for any length of time. Obviously, skin cancer is a real issue for us as we love to get outside and enjoy spring, summer, and early fall. If you can, limit your midday exposure, which, again, it's tough to do after coming out of a cold and snowy winter. The other thing to do is just use sun protection, whether that's sunscreen or just a lid like this to keep the direct rays off of you. And another way is to actually look at the shadow, and something called the shadow rule, where you can determine if you need sunscreen or not. Typically, it's from about 9 a.m. until 3 p.m. But you look at the length of your shadow, and if that's shorter than your height, well, then that's an indication that the sun is really high in the sky, and so it's a good idea for sunscreen. But there you go. Solar summer. It is upon us. Enjoy it. We'll be back in a few months to talk about solar winter.
The calendar still says May, but sometimes this time of year, it feels like summer. By late May, highs in Toledo are in the upper 70s. That's a big difference from the beginning of May. Humidity starts to creep in too, making it feel warmer than the thermometer says. And with around 15 hours of daylight, summer vibes are in full swing. Except not this year. May 2025 seeing below average temperatures, feeling more like the beginning of spring.
Okay.
Mhm.
Another, see the brother there, and like how he said, he goes, hey, it's like spring, but it's really solar summer, So
Mm.
people know these things, family, and he might say those are cuckoos or whatever. Then I'll be a part of the cuckoo family. They call the Messiah the devil. So I mean, we shouldn't even be worrying about things. But let's just move on, and you're getting some information. I want you to look at this definition here of midsummer. Go ahead, brother Javed.
Midsummer, the period of the summer solstice, or the middle of summer. Midsummer's Day, astronomically, midsummer falls on June 21st, with summer beginning at the start of May. Midwinter, the middle or depth of winter. Midwinter, the middle of winter. Traditionally, the period around the winter solstice, which is December 21st, winter being reckoned as the 1st of November.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So I mean, these definitions, you can go type it in yourself, family. Go type in midsummer, and then even type in, when you go look at midsummer, traditions and stuff like that. They're all going to show you that the summer solstice, the period of the summer solstice, is actually the middle of summer. And notice it says here, astronomically, midsummer falls on June 21st. You see the astronomical business? That's the false calendar. That's when they say summer begins, but it's called the middle of summer, midsummer. So I mean, if it's the middle of summer, why do they begin summer then? And not even that day, that summer solstice, all the days after the summer solstice, the days are getting shorter. Makes no sense. That's the beginning.
Nope.
It's like, what it is from May, because it says here, with summer beginning at the start of May. And this is like, I know this is like just a basic definition. I didn't, dig it up or anything or AI it. You can see that from May, June would be the middle, and July again would be the end of that. So we're going to have a height or a direct top of summer. And the same thing with winter, the darkest day or the darkest day or the longest night. It says December 24th, winter being reckoned from the 1st of November. So again, November is when true winter scripturally does start. So all the information that we're giving you about Geocentric Almanac and talking about February and May and what else? August and November as the true beginning of the seasons, months 1, 4, 7, and 10. It's true. And I'm hoping that all this information is helping you. So now when you go to Geocentric Almanac, you won't be like other people. Man, what do you guys talk about February? February, this and that. It's all of that. And everybody talking out of their hat and everything, looking out their window, trying to be an understanding of things. Look outside. Look how it is. You don't look outside. Weather doesn't determine climate. You understand? Just like how now it's supposed to be summer coming. We're supposed to have 17 degrees around this time on average. And right now it's about 13. It's pretty cool. It might be that way. So whether or not, it's super hot or not, May is the beginning of summer because it's dealing with the sunlight, the sun increasing, the maximum amount of sunlight. And that goes for all over the earth. You understand? All over the earth. All over the earth.
True.
So it's not localized. So again, this information to me is great information. Solar spring, greatest increase of radiation is solar spring. Look at this. It says during this period, the sun moves from the southern hemisphere to directly over the equator, which is the March equinox. So February has 12 hours and 7 minutes. March has 12 hours and 7. April has 12 hours and 7 minutes. Then we got the solar summer, maximum solar radiation. The focus is from what? May till July. Look again. Solar spring is from February to April. May 12 hours, June 12 hours, July 12 hours. These are all just dealing with maximum radiation and the daylight, amount of daylight that's going on. Looking at understanding the cross-quarter days. A cross-quarter day is when God's true seasons begin. You see here they have the equinox, spring equinox, summer solstice, autumn equinox, and the winter solstice. But then we have cross-quarter 1, 2, 3, and 4. And so when we add in, the proper understanding, spring equinox is mid-spring, right? Is mid-spring, summer solstice midsummer, autumn equinox mid-autumn, the winter solstice is midwinter. That means February 1st is the beginning of spring. That's where Jazz New Year is. Summer starts here at May 1st. Autumn starts August 1st. And winter starts November 1st, allowing the midpoints to be 45 or 46 days in that 90 or 91 day season. To perfection. Midsummer is the middle or the height of summer, and that's what we spoke about. Another name for the summer solstice. Again, the height of summer, right? Looking at this chart again, lets you know, again, the summer solstice is the height. That's when the sun is at its highest, the days are longest. Right? To perfection when you start to see what's going on. The seasons with the midpoints explained. Again, these are the starting point. The cross-quarter days are dealing with the solar seasons. So spring begins February 1st to the 4th. They would call that symbolic. The midpoint, the solar midpoint, is the March equinox. Summer begins May 1 to May 5th, Beltane. The midpoint is the June solstice, the longest day. Autumn is dealing with August 1st to the 7th or the first week of August. I always say just the first week of August, February, May, or November. The September equinox is the midpoint. It's the midpoint. And then we see the winter begins November 1st for that first week. December solstice is the midpoint. And then again, looking at here, you have the ending points. February, right, going through the end of it is May, which begins summer. The summer, solar summer goes to August. That August 1st is the beginning of autumn. The August one goes to November 1st. November 1st is the beginning of winter. And there you can see it in another fantastic, beautiful way. These charts are fantastic,
Yes.
Looking at it another way, this is spring, February, March, and April. And there's the equinox. It's in the middle month. Summer solstice in the middle. Autumn in the middle. Winter in the middle. Because you have 1, 2, 3 months. And these are approximately the middle. Again, symbolic, beginning of February, the spring equinox. You just put things down. Again, Jazz New Year begins in the beginning of February, mid-spring, midsummer, mid-autumn, midwinter. I mean, I'm beating it down hard, but showing you different ways how this thing is perfection when you look at it from the wheel of the year, or how seasons and seasonal cycles begin and end. Same thing. December, winter solstice, mid-spring equinox, midsummer solstice. The world knows these things, but the astronomical seasons are allowed to carry the swing and to throw everybody off. But they're the middle of the season. They're not the beginning. See, this is a fantastic chart. We have the true spring or the latter rains. We have true summer, early summer, true autumn, true winter. And again, it goes in after winter, latter rains will start again. This is also dealing with solar spring. So true is the scriptural, solar spring, the greatest increase of sunlight. The March, the mid equinox is the middle point, right? The spring equinox is in March. It's the middle point. The summer solstice is the middle of true summer. Autumn equinox is the middle of true autumn. Winter solstice is the middle of true winter. And then, of course, we go in it again. Again, the beginning of the year is going to be February. And then when we look at the astronomical thing, that what people are following today, again, the spring equinox is the middle of just things and solar spring, but for them, it's the beginning of their year. So March 1st is their meteorological, and that's going to be also the spring equinox that they're dealing with going through. So you'll see that the middle of just seasons is always the beginning of their astronomical, satanic, devilish, stargazing seasons. You see that? The mid,
Mm-hmm.
the mid is the beginning. The mid is the beginning, and this also coincides with the calendar of Jeroboam, because calendar of Jeroboam is alive and well today. And if you don't know about that, you got to go read up about that or check one of our videos on that. And what you see at the bottom is the calendar of Jeroboam. He adjusted that the festival that is in Jah's 7th month, right? This is Jah's 7th month where they keep the Feast of Tabernacles. Well, he switched things over to the 8th month and made a festival in the 8th month on the 15th day. But that 8th month on the 15th day, when you go down, it's the 7th month on the astronomical calendar, and it's also the autumn equinox. And that's why everybody and their grandmother who wants to keep a festival to Jah in Tabernacles, they're always doing it in September, around the September equinox, the falsehood, the things that's not even being recognized by Jah. But, he's maybe watching in people's heart. And if their heart is clean and they're doing it in the right way and investigating when they're off, he'll guide them to the truth if needs be. He has his remnant, his flock, who he knows who are his, and some aren't his. Yeah, we don't know who that might be, but we know that he has his things, and he has his almanac. He has all of his stuff that are true, clean, and pure, and his true doctrines of salvation and understanding of the gospel. That's what we are forwarding here and professing here. But if you take a look again, you start to see there's a lot going on here. Falsehood. They've switched the calendar by 1 month to make it seem plausible, but it's devilish. Yeah, here we are again. All right. So again, solar winter, the darkest part of the year, from early November to early February. Solar spring, from early February to early May. This period sees the fastest increase. Solar summer, the brightest quarter from early May to early August with the most daylight. That's where we're going into now. Solar autumn, the period between solar summer and winter, marked by decreasing daylight. So it's increasing here. It's nice and high here, going over here, and then it's reversing when it comes down. Let's watch another video. I will give us, let's do a short, tiny one showing us that, May is the beginning of summer in Israel. Now, before I go there, I just want to look at this again. This is a chart showing the solar summer. So from here to here is solar spring. So spring from February going to the end of April, right here. March is the middle, the greatest increase. See, going up there, great. We get to May, it slows down, but it's the greatest amount of daylight going across, with June being the middle of the season, the summer solstice. And then we get to the end of autumn. Then from autumn until November, it drastically decreases greatly, where September equinox is the middle of the true autumn season. And then we have from November going through, coming back over to January. But we go from November, we got the winter solstice also being the darkest part of the year as it moves through, coming over to the other side, beginning again in cycles. So we see the maximum, we see the greatest decrease, and we see the minimum. Greatest increase, the maximum amount, the greatest decrease, and the minimum amount of sunlight. Beautiful stuff.
If you are planning on coming to Israel in summer, which is when most people visit Israel, this video is going to be very helpful. Summer in Israel starts in May and ends in October. You can expect temperature of over 30 degrees Celsius, around 90 degrees Fahrenheit, and 0 rain.
Again, that was from a travel vlog, but very clearly in Israel, he said, summer starts from May, goes to October. It's a fact. We're dealing with facts here, not no people talking and sometimes you can see how I can get irritated, because when people come and try to shoot down the calendar or talk against it, they don't use none of those things. They say, well, how come you're not using the lunar cycle, Ak? Look at their faults. You're not using the Enoch calendar. The book of Enoch is real. Yeah, we're using Jah's book. We don't care about the book of Enoch. You can throw the book of Enoch in the garbage. It does mention 364 days. That's true. Jubilees has mention of the same thing as well in certain things. But hey, 4 things or 5 things in a book doesn't make the whole book true. You understand? And that's just the whole catch here. It doesn't work like that. Just because some things in the book of Enoch, Jubilee, and Jasher are true doesn't mean the whole book is true. And everything in Jah's book is true, though. I mean, there might be errors and translation errors, but we know the doctrine is true. You understand? So get out of here with those other books and stuff like that. But let's look at another video. I'm into the videos. Here's another 1.5 minute one.
Hey everybody, Ryan Breton here. You may have noticed over the last couple of weeks, the sun's feeling a little bit stronger. It's still pretty weak, but if you're out there during the middle of the day around noon or 1 o'clock and it's fully sunny, you can feel the sun's getting a little higher up there in the sky. There are a bunch of ways to measure our seasons. Astronomical seasons, the primary one on our calendars, where the summer solstice is the day with the most amount of daylight, the winter solstice, the day with the least amount of daylight. And the equinoxes, the one in March, the one in September, represent when the sun's directly over the equator and roughly equal day and night. In the weather world, we use meteorological seasons. The 3 coldest months, December, January, February, those are meteorological winter. And then the 3 warmest months, June, July, August, meteorological summer. Well, there's another way too, and that's called the solar seasons. And today, February 5th, the beginning of solar spring. And from now through early May, we're in what's considered solar spring. And during this time, surrounding the vernal equinox in March, we are gaining daylight at the fastest rate, and the sun's angle in the sky is increasing over this time at the fastest rate. It continues to get higher in the sky through the date of the solstice in June, but after solar spring, once we get into solar summer, that increase, the rate of it, will slow down a little bit leading up to the summer solstice.
Another nice one.
Yeah, man, another nice one. And pure gems we are getting on. We are share with the brethren and sister in them, because these things are pure, clean, and true. You understand? Tested greatly and understood greatly. And all other calendars we've tested out and understand them, the Enoch and the Zedekite calendar and all of those other ones. There's so many different names. They're based upon the same principles, though, either using the equinoxes as the beginning of season, using lunar cycles, or beginning with a false understanding of months, having 30, and 31 day months, and not utilizing the months like how you see them on the screen. The first month has to have 28 days. The second month has to have 31, 30. These are the number of days in each month. This is how the amount of days have to be, because we prove all of the amount of days in every single month by the Holy Bible. Yeah, we look in the Holy Bible. So I would say go, type in on our channel Scriptural Months, and you'll get 2 lessons, parts 1 and 2, that show you how we count and understand the beginning of the days of from February, from creation, from Abib 1. And we count all the way through and show how we utilize the months and why they have to be this amount of days, and they're not like the days that people are making up. Because we're using the Holy Scriptures, Jah's word, Jah's clean word that he revealed secrets to and revealed things to us. Oh, he's so great. John Joshua are great, man. Some beautiful stuff. So, this is one of my champion charts. And this shows everything that we can think of. It has Jah's and Israel's seasons. Right. So when we're looking down, we got the months and the number of days. We got the day of the week that the month starts on. Look at that. Sunday, Wednesday. Which other almanac, can do that out there? Can't do that with other almanacs. Can't do that. Because it's moving around all the time. The second month might start on a different day of the week and all of this and that. Not Jah's things. Jah's things is firm, set, fixed, and appointed. You understand? Firm, cannot be moved. And we got the average temperatures, if you need to know. Even if you're focusing on hours of daylight, in February there's an amount of 11, then it goes to 12 because it's the equinox, 12 hours, 12 nights, and then we go to the spring equinox of the autumn equinox. Again, there's your 12. But look we have all the amount of, all we've got to do is count up these hours. You can see this is the greatest increase from 11 hours to 13, and then you can see this is the greatest amount, 13, 14, and 14. Then we can see again it's starting to decrease, 13, 12, and 11. See, look at that. 11, 12, 13, 13, 14, 14. Now we're reversing. 11, 13, 12, 11, 11, 10, 10. So, this understanding, again, beautiful things. The average amount of rain in millimeters or in inches. So 114 millimeters. And this is, again, proven to the test. 2.5 millimeters, which is 0.1, which is barely anything. Like you said, you might get that the first week of May. Otherwise, nothing. Get to October, mid-October, late October. it just starts to rain again before we kick off things in November once again. I mean, the number of days we have, everything. Abib, Zif, Savan, Judah, Dan, Elul, Etanim, Bul, Kislev, Tibet, Sabat, and Adar. You should know all the names of the months if you're really going to study these things and get into it. Yeah, you should practice. Why not? You know, all of this information, you know, by most of this, you know, brothers and sisters of our assembly, you know, we know these things. You know, I know for me, I've memorized what day of the week each month starts on, how long it is, and so that. And I've only did it by the grace of God's mercy. But because I also, you know, I wanted it. I had desire to know just things. I don't just want to hear it. I want to desire to know it so that I can apply it. And if Jazz Almanac ever gets hidden by people, or they come and take away my computer or something like that, I could still make Jazz Almanac from scratch still. Oh, praise Jah. It's so great.
Praise
so
Jah.
Right. And this is why I'm so excited and zealous for this topic. But you know, let's see what else we got. Let's look at another idea of the solar seasons. I got another video. This is a little bit longer, but great information. 326. Okay, let's go to. Here we go.
To me, it begins in May because it's cold so much, and then all of a sudden it's really hot. When it stays lighter later.
Sorry. I wanted to say something. Yeah. So this one is about, you're going to hear it asking when does summer begin? And then the first girl in the beginning, she's the only one who really knows when it begins. She says May. I just wanted to highlight that. Let's go back.
To me, it begins in May because it's cold so much, and then all of a sudden it's really hot. When it stays lighter later.
For me, it begins in the middle of June.
Summer starts as soon as my classes end.
June 20th or June 21st?
That's really good. Nobody else knew that.
Okay. Summer starts when we can get out and play pickleball.
Honestly, when it starts getting warm out.
Summer starts when the kids come home from school.
June 20th, 4:50 p.m.
You heard me.
I did.
All right, that was pretty fun, and we heard a lot of different answers. And all of them, I guess in some way, shape, or form, I could make an argument that they're all correct. And here's why. You can think about summer in three different ways. There's astronomical summer, there's meteorological summer, and there's solar summer. Now, what are these and what are the differences? Let's start with the astronomical summer, and this occurs, it begins with the longest day of the year, the summer solstice. This year, as Rob heard me talking about, he threw this out in our question and answer segment. Yeah, that's Thursday, June 20th at 4:50. So that's when the summer solstice occurs, but it changes year in and year out. And the fall equinox, that time changes a little bit as well. So we get some fluctuation in the length of astronomical summer. This is the time, though, that is always classically or typically thought of for technically summer. Now, meteorological summer, this is a little bit simpler, but I think it's also something that will be very familiar to you. It's the months of June, July, and August, our typical hottest summer months. So you think about it, it's the same year in, year out, June, July, and August. That's it. No tricks, no shifting dates. It's always June, July, and August. Then we have the solar summer, and this is interesting. This is the least known of the different types of summers. The solar summer is when the sun's direct light, the direct radiation, is farthest north and most common in the northern hemisphere. That takes place June and May and July as well. June is when the summer solstice is. So both May and July on either side of June, this is when most of the sun's radiation is hitting the northern hemisphere. So we call that solar summer. But again, May is cooler. We get hotter later in the year. So again, it's just a different way to think of summer. Now, as we take a look at the meteorological summer, there's a reason why we absolutely love it. As forecasters, as meteorologists, climatologists, it's easy to work with. The length of the season, as I mentioned, is consistent every single year. First day of June through the last day of August. And we keep monthly climate statistics for the weather all around the world. And it's very easy to calculate seasonal statistics when you have the monthly statistics. So it just makes more sense. It's easier to track and look back on records and pull rather than, well, okay, from this date to that date and it's shifted and then it was earlier this year and later that year. It's just a lot easier to take a look at those months and calculate seasonal statistics. And then that information that we have, it's easy to communicate and very clear to be used by agricultural interests and commerce as well. So other folks that rely on this information, talking about our climate and what our weather's typically like, maybe to promote tourism and travel, or again, planning on agriculture, growing seasons and the hot seasons, all of that, it's very easy to use meteorological summer. So a reminder, this begins June 1st, Saturday, the first day of meteorological summer.
Now, solar winter, what is that? It refers to the period when a hemisphere receives the least amount of sunlight, and it spans about 3 months. And it has nothing to do with the time change. How do we get this date? Well, we go to the winter solstice. It starts on December 21st this year. Bump ahead 45 days, and you get November 6th, so it's already started. Move ahead to the winter solstice again, and then 45 days after that is when it ends. That takes us to February 4th. It's a little confusing, but we've done the math for you. We are in it, so we're not seeing a lot of daylight hours. You're feeling that. We also have other signs of when winter's starting, which is meteorological winter. It follows the calendar. It begins on December 1st, ends on the last day of February, and it aligns with the coldest month in a seasonal cycle for consistent record keeping. Of course, we also have the winter solstice. This is relative to the Earth's position to the sun. This year, it starts on Saturday, December 21st. So there's signs of winter all around.
Hello everyone. Have you heard the term solar winter being thrown around? Well, that's because we are sitting in it. So we're going to get into what the solar seasons actually are. But before we get into that, we do have to talk about the astronomical seasons because they do go hand in hand. Now, we do know that the Earth has that tilt to it, and the astronomical seasons are based off of that tilt and where the Earth is in relation to the sun. So the winter solstice is coming up the end of December, and this will be our shortest day of the year. And you can see the amount of daylight does vary where you are on planet Earth because those sun's direct rays are at the Tropic of Capricorn around this time. So solar seasons here, you can see the fluctuation as we go throughout the year. Solar spring and solar autumn, that's when we gain or lose daylight the fastest. Solar summer, when we see the most daylight, and solar winter when we see the least. Now, I did say we are approaching the winter solstice, so you can see our rate of change is slowing down of where we gain or lose that daylight to approaching zero here. And that's because we'll start to change the other way and continue the cycle for gaining and losing daylight throughout the year. I'm meteorologist Amanda Verrier, News 9.
Welcome to solar summer, the sunniest stretch of the year, which runs from May to July, and that's when the northern hemisphere gets the most amount of direct sunlight. Now, let's explore the difference between meteorological and astronomical summer. Now, meteorological summer runs from June to August based on the temperature and typical weather patterns we experience each year. And astronomical summer begins with the summer solstice, which falls Friday, June 20th at 10:42 Eastern Standard Time, the longest day of sunlight we see. So if solar summer has the most sunlight, why isn't it the hottest? And it's because the Earth's land and oceans take time to absorb and release heat, which builds later in July and August. So during solar summer, we also see the highest UV index of the year, which begins to rise rapidly in May and peaking in June because of the Earth's angle being the highest. So if UV radiation is the strongest, it's because it doesn't feel super hot yet. So enjoy the season of light ahead and make sure to wear sunscreen based on the UV index near you.
Mm-hmm. Well, I hope that emphasizes a lot of understanding. That's the Weather Network, and even dealing with Toronto, they were using. You understand, and they understand what's going on, even though they try to associate it still with the globe and all of that stuff. Nonetheless, they know what's going on. I know that they know. You know that they know. The world knows about these solar seasons, and that's why it shouldn't be a shock. Like, what do you mean February, spring? What do you mean summer starts in May? It doesn't start till June. When you start to understand these truths, you can see it's very deep and it's very important. And reason why, again, it's very important is because we have to deal with Jah's holy days and his true seasons. And I mean, who doesn't like truth? You know, I like truth, love truth, and we should all want that. All right, I'm just going to We got a few minutes left. I just want to go through read a couple of quotes. I'm going to read the first one, and I'll let Brother Javed maybe read a couple other ones. We'll switch or something. But let me just focus on this one. I got this one today.
Mm-hmm.
This is from a blog, right? Okay, this guy says, okay, maybe I'm archaic. He's 50, but when I was a child, and this is actually a few years ago too, this one. When I was a child, it was universally acknowledged that the equinoxes were mid-season. Our little classroom picture calendars showed these seasons, and our children's TV backed them up. I'm only talking about the 60s and 70s now, not the 11th century, which he calls the 80s, you know. Our seasons were winter, November, December, January. Spring was February, March, and April. Summer was May, June, and July. Autumn was August, September, and October. Consider all the poetry, movies, songs, and stories which are about or refer to the seasons. They all back this up. Yes, I've seen snow here in the UK in May, which is why it's memorable and talked about, because it's unexpected and it's at odds with the season. Even the explanation of astronomical seasons above backs this up. Surely by the time the equinoxes are happening, Earth tilted away from the sun, that it's evidently a midpoint of something, not the start of something. I like that. And if these dates have to be used as starting points, why commandeer the seasons for this use? The seasons are defined by light and weather. June is and has been for generations midsummer. As someone pointed out, refer to Shakespeare.
Wow.
I mean, yeah, pretty good information. People out there thinking, right? And they're not even dealing with Jah things really, you know. And now it's like this information coupled with Jah's truth. So beautiful. Go on, brother. Read this one here.
You're absolutely correct.
Yeah, go ahead. Just start from there. Yeah.
Okay. June 20th or 21st, as the date varies, is actually midsummer, with summer having begun on May Day or May 1st. Our modern almanacs, calendars, and often weather people are simply wrong when they say summer begins on June 20th. As often happens in our modern world, the older traditions and definitions usually more accurate due to our ancestors having been far better attuned to the earth and her cycles, have become blurred in the rat race we now find ourselves in the midst of.
That's right. You know, although we're kind of advancing with technology, we're slipping away from truth. You understand?
That's right.
Further and further away. So it might seem like, oh, we're getting wiser and smarter and everything's at our fingertips. Trust me, original truth, that's what's happening. You're having this technology trying to replace all these things. I mean, this quote is very powerful. You know, the older traditions are more accurate because our ancestors had better in tune to the earth and her cycles. Like I was saying about a little bit earlier on, not much people are going to be looking up at the trees and looking at the buds and know what's going on. Maybe gardeners and farmers are going to pay attention to those things, but you and I in the metropolitan cities and stuff like that, the concrete jungle as they call it, you know, we might not be able to see these things and thinking that, oh man, we're so advanced now, this and that. But no, you know, as you can see, there's an understanding here about midsummer. I'm going to read this part now. Actually, I'm looking at this logically and scientifically as well as historically. It doesn't make sense scientifically for summer to start on the summer solstice as that is the shortest night of the year. It makes sense for it to start 6 weeks before. 6 times 7 is 42 beforehand, which is around the start of May, which also fits in historically with the celebration of Beltane, as does the August Harvest Festival coincide with the start of autumn, because August is the beginning of autumn. Could it possibly be that they were changed deliberately to take power away from the old religions? Oh no, the Roman Catholic and Christian Church wouldn't have done that now, would they? Things sarcastically, but this is what we're talking about. The Gregorian Christian calendar is attempt to hide Jah's true almanac and to give us a false understanding, and people know these things. Go ahead, brother.
In the Northern Hemisphere, the period of maximum daylight falls roughly between May 7th and August 7th. In other words, the 6 weeks before and after the solstice. It isn't really clear how the astronomical definition that summer starts on the solstice got started, says Kevin Trenberth, a climate researcher at the University of Illinois in Urbana. Although the sun-Earth geometry is clearly the origin of the seasons on Earth, It has nothing directly to do with temperature or weather.
That's right. So men and them are doing their research. Go ahead, brother.
I'm not sure how those who are supposed to know these things ever got something so simple so wrong, but they did. By the way, December 20th or 21st is also midwinter, the middle of winter, and not the first day of winter, which is actually the 1st of November. Wouldn't it just be a lot simpler and far less confusing if everyone, the meteorologists, the almanacs and calendars, and whoever else might be considered knowledgeable in this field, just admitted that they had it wrong for a time and went back to the true and accurate designations? I think most of the public would appreciate it greatly, and we certainly would.
Wow. He said, what did he say? And I certainly know.
I said, yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean, you see, people want the truth, but you're fighting a Goliath of falsehood out here, and that's what's going on. But hey, don't worry, man. We got our little stones. We put them in our pocket, in our pouch, and we're going to slay the giant here, this giant Goliath of falsehood and lies, and bring forth the truth. And I mean, these are great quotes. I think I got a couple more. Let me read this one here, Brother Javed. There's a widespread misconception in this country which extends, I might note, to the makers of most calendars, dictionaries, and encyclopedias. Look at that. That's a widespread misconception, right? Makers of most calendars, dictionaries, and encyclopedias, that summer officially starts on the day of the summer solstice, June 21st or 22nd, which is the longest daylight period of the year. Americans also believe, one, that there's some valid scientific reason for doing it that way, and two, that everybody in the Northern Hemisphere does it that way and always has. None of these things are true. So far as I've been able to discover, no scientific or governmental body has ever formally declared that summer starts on the solstice. Certainly there is no good scientific reason for it. That's right. You see, as we look and finish off here, these truths are great. Right? This is Jah's Almanac here in the simplest form, 1 to 12. January is the last month of the year, the coldest, as we, remember learning about. We have the 6 months of hot, dry summer going accordingly with the scriptures and with the land of Israel. We have our early and our latter rains that are perfect with the land of Israel. Everything is just posh. Everything is perfect, working out perfect with Jah's Almanac. So as we move into the third day of summer, again, pay attention to the early thunderstorms, and by next weekend, we'll be having hopefully our high teens temperatures back again, unless this sticks around. The vortex, and is around. But anyways, let me just finish you off with, I think, some good verses here for us to remember. As we move into summer, let's be productive. Let's not be lazy. Let's not just play like the grasshopper played in the story of the grasshopper and the ants, when the ants were busy working in the summer and the grasshopper was like, yo, what y'all doing? Let's go party. Let's go have some fun. And he was jumping around, skipping, doing everything, checking out the birds and checking out here, going to the field, and everything is all right. And they're like, no, we got to work. We're preparing our food. We got to make sure it's prepared and stored because winter's coming on. It's going to be 6 months long. It's like, oh, man, live it up now and stuff like that. But, when we take a look here, we see something great when we look at the ants. And that's what the story is based upon. So why I like to look at ants and bugs and stuff like that in a very intense way, not just like, oh, look at them. Study their movements, not how they walk, but when they come out, when they, spawn and do all different things. Go ahead, brother.
Proverbs 7, verse 6. Go to the ant, thou sluggard, consider her ways, and be wise, which having no guide, overseer, or ruler, provideth her food in the summer, and gathereth her food in the harvest. How long wilt thou sleep, O sluggard? When wilt thou arise out of thy sleep? Yet a little sleep and a little slumber, a little folding of the hands to sleep, so shall thy poverty come as one that travelleth, and thy want as an armed man.
That's right. It comes quickly, This is speaking about, again, being productive, working, of course, providing for yourself, or doing what you have to do. Don't be a sluggard during these times. And you could, I know a lot of people like their sleep and stuff like that, but there's a time to sleep and there's time to be awake. And a lot of times when it's time for people to be awake doing something, that's when they want to sleep, right? And, missing out on certain things that they have to deal with. Well, I just pray that you study the ant. I pray that this lesson has helped you greatly. And Brother Javed, always bless up and one love to you as we move through together in these things with the Zion Assembly of John Jehoshua into great understandings as he continually lifts us up, guides us in love and truth, opens up the understanding of other people around the world, people in Gambia, people in Philippines, people in America, people in England are starting to tune into what's going on with Jah's Almanac and the doctrines of truth, the Messiah doctrines, the way of Jah is what I would call it. This is the way that we're walking. And we give out glory and praise and honor to Jah, Yah our Father, and his only begotten Son, Jehoshua the Messiah, the Nazarite that died for our sins, known as Yehoshua, Yahusha, Yahawashai, Yahshua, Yeshua, Jesus, Joshua, HaMashiach, the Christ, the Anointed, the Messiah. Praise Jah and Jehoshua. Thank you for watching, and bless up and one love to all.
Praise Jah.
Yes, Brother John. So thank you, Brother Sean. Thank you, brother. Excellent lesson with great understanding. Yes, may this understanding increase greatly. May it increase. Feel no way, as you know, if you're not subscribe to the channel. Put a thumbs up for this video. And also you can leave comments, not just in the chat here, but leave a comment and search out all the rest of our other information at your leisure. Most things are time stamped right now, I should say. So at least you can, even if it's 2 hours long, you can navigate and say, oh, which parts do I want to focus on? And then go into the time stamps, and you can, just zero in on that part you want to zero in on. So again, bless up to all the families. Auntie Elma, one love to you. Thank you for your support and donation as well that came through. And so Greg, Mama Greg, Zion Assembly, Andrea, Carice, Alton, Brother Alton, Judah Blaze, of course, the John Ray family, Sister Carice, Zion of Jah, and everyone else. Bless up and one love. One love to you all. Have a blessed week, Johnny says to everyone. Again, glory to the Father and Son. Praise John Jehoshua, Sister Andrea. Yes, Brother Jabed.
Yes. Bless up, Brother Sean.
All right.
Man, may everyone have a good, blessed week going into this first week of the summer season, the summer solar season, as we now know. And may Jah continue to guide and strengthen all the brothers and sisters and bring us back again on Jah's Holy Sabbath day.
That's right. Praise John Jehoshua.
Praise Jah.
All right, everyone. Stay strong. Fight the good fight. Happy summer.
All right. Bless up, Sean. Have a good week, everyone. Bless up. One love.
All right. Well, as always, bless up to yourself. May the Most High guide you. If you do want to get a PDF of Jah's Almanac, email me at zignofjah.com. You'll see that email on my channel somewhere. I'll put it in the room. And I'll email you just a copy of this year's Almanac. zignofjah@gmail.com. Yes. If you want it, if you don't, that's all right. Information about Toronto and the summer seasons lines up perfectly with Israel. We even, as we were talking before, New Jersey. With New Jersey, we have brothers and sisters down there in New Jersey, Jamaica. The seasons, knowing the seasons, all of this is coinciding perfectly. Gambia now, as they go into May, June, and July, they're going into it's summer in terms of solar summer, but it's going to be raining. So it's their rainy season, but their rainy season occurs during the warmth and the heat. So it's nice. It's not like the rainy season in Israel. It's occurring during the cold seasons. So again, from May to October is the rainy season in Gambia, even though it's still summer. So it's unique as we look at many things on this earth. All right. Well, with that said, England, China, Philippines. And with that said, one love. Keep everything warm and easy. In the meantime and in between times, all massive and crew, one love. Praise to John Jehoshua. Sewa.